You know, a little part of me is actually regretting asking this question because I know that there's a lot of you chaotic bards out there that just want to, I don't know, touch everything that moves and sometimes things that don't move. But that being said, it's me, ya boy, Brian Von VA here, back at it again with another set of D&D stories. And of course, if you have a story, please put it in the comments below. We read those comments. You can also do so on r/MrRipper, which is our subreddit, but hey, both places work just as fine. That said, what's the most fun you've had as a bard? Our druid, who had a 4 in charisma, managed to convince a lord that 15,000 gold was the standard going rate for dealing with dragons. The lord thought he meant 15,000 gold each, so the party was quite excited. We managed to deal with the dragon almost entirely diplomatically and convinced it to leave. But due to the barbarian setting off a magic item, the druid got sucked into a portal, which the dragon saved the rest of the party from. We found out at the end of this session that the druid would be leaving the game due to moving to Canada. Hey, hope you had a good move. Well, I couldn't let such a heroic feat of someone with such a huge negative modifier managing to persuade someone to pay so much money to go to waste. So, right before we went back in to get payment from the Lord, my bard inspired the barbarian. The Lord paid the party, but hadn't included the amount for the druid's character. In steps my bard. I convinced the Lord that we used too many spells during the dragon encounter and wouldn't be able to rescue our friend until we had long rested, and that it was unfair of him to not pay the druid's share. Barbarian used the inspiration to convince the Lord that he and the druid were family. In spite of the barbarian being an heir of Genasi or Genasi, and the druid being a fire Genasi or Genasi. I can never say that right. Everyone tells me it's different. With Barbarian's successful argument, the DM let my bard have advantage on persuasion. Advantage and a plus 15 modifier led to the Lord giving us half of the druid's share of the reward, and the 5k diamond needed to cast the gate spell so we could recover the barbarian's brother. None of the party are high enough level to cast gate, but we're saving it, and we put the druid's partial share into a party fund. I played in an all-female campaign where even the male players like me had to play female characters. I played Petunia, the half-orc valor bard. She was the accompanist and manager to a famous prima ballerina named Rose. Petunia would arrange the gigs and then play while Rose danced. No one paid much attention to Petunia, the awkward, plain-looking half-orc playing the dulcimer, while Rose was performing. Rose was beautiful, exotic, graceful, everything Petunia wasn't. None of the party ever met Rose. I told them I went to towns ahead of her looking for gigs while she lounged around at home. She was very reclusive and never spoke to anyone apart from me. When I had arranged a gig, I would send her word and she would show up for the performance, then go back home the same night. She didn't like staying overnight in inns, so Petunia did all the legwork. She didn't mind Rose getting all the attention, even if she was somewhat of a diva. Near the end of the campaign, I was preparing for a performance. Petunia was in the dressing room. No one had seen Rose show up yet. Then, just before curtain call, I cast Silent Image and walked out, followed by Rose. I played and she danced in 10-minute intervals, pausing between numbers for quick costume changes. And I had enough spell slots to make Rose last a little over an hour before she retired back to the dressing room and then vanished as mysteriously as she had arrived. That is probably my favorite story I've ever read, because who would have ever guessed that Rose was just an apparition all along? I love it. I need more of this. If there's more of it out there, please let me know. I want to hear more. My ultimate infiltrator. A changeling, college of eloquence bard, and pact of the chain genie warlock with the actor feat. Skipping over all the ways I could sneak into places, I could impersonate anyone perfectly. My deception and performance rolls were always 10 or higher, and if I was trying to pass myself off as someone else, which I nearly always was, I had advantage on the roll. If I heard a creature's speech or noises for 1 minute, I could mimic them, and sound the same too. And let's not forget the Eldritch Invocation that lets me speak through my familiar, who I can make invisible. It all came together when our party needed to sneak into the embassy of an enemy nation and steal something within. It was well defended and packed with people, so we needed a distraction to help our thief sneak in with invisibility. To draw the defenders away, I organized a massive protest in front of the embassy over several weeks, using many different identities. As it started, I jumped up on a cart and riled the crowd up more and more until they were at their breaking point. Using my invisible familiar I stationed on the wall by the defenders, I turned the protest into an all-out riot. Imitating the guard captain's voice, I ordered the soldiers to fire on myself. They complied before the real captain could stop them, and one of them even hit. My character let himself fall back off the cart, appearing to have just been killed to the enormous crowd. In retaliation, they swarmed forward, breaking through the gate and overwhelming the defenders through sheer numbers. I was fine, of course, and quickly dropped the disguise I had been using and disappeared into the crowd. I simply waded through the masses back to our inn and waited for the rest of the party to return with the item. Even when other party members were spotted carrying out their parts of the heist, my character was never tied to the events of that day, and the cause of the riot remained a mystery. Again, another Bard story that I'm absolutely in love with. It's like an Ocean's 11 plot that, quite literally went as perfectly as possible. The MLM Bard. My only character that really didn't deserve a happy ending, but got it anyways. He founded an MLM that incentivized peasants to invest in adventuring groups. The logic being that, while it's a risky investment, collective investment will allow for a diverse portfolio of differently performing groups. So that instead of a 3/7 chance of no returns, 8/9 of investors would get at the very least 1.3 times above average. Well, look, what you really need to know is that it's safe. Your money will do good, and you'll be able to retire early on your profits. Of course, the whole thing was just a Ponzi scheme, and when the math stopped adding up, I just shifted the focus to investing in war bonds for a war that we may or may not have started. Through superior funding, we won the war. My character took a massive payout and made for the hills before anyone realized that the interest on the war bonds was actually greater than the GDP of the kingdom. Not good. But in his defense, the citizens then overthrew the king and established a republic. So something good came out of it in the end. Oh, and I got our barbarian to invest in my scheme as well. How did you convince the frickin' barbarian to get... Oh wait, it's a barbarian. Convincing a dragon that it's a figment of its own imagination, and in reality is a kobold stuck in a drug-induced meditative coma-like state. But if it can manage to steal the big bad evil guy's mantle of spell resistance, I can conduct a ritual that when he awakes from the coma, he will emerge as a real dragon. He succeeded, and I burned the mantle of spell resistance and had him willingly fail the save on an altar memory, convincing him it's a vital part of the ritual. He remembers waking up as a kobold and growing into a dragon. And now the big bad evil guy doesn't have his stupid mantle anymore. This is like one of the best fever dream / drug induced issues I've ever heard of, and it's amazing. Like, for real, the fact that you were able to convince a dragon that it's actually just a kobold. I was expecting you to say it was going to be a kobold or maybe 3 kobolds all in a very large coat. I don't know, but I'm excited to hear more. Keiko was by far my favorite bard to play. We were playing the Kingmaker campaign, we don't hear enough about that, and our entire group unilaterally decided to make her the leader. Keiko was very much the reluctant ruler up until someone tried to invade our growing kingdom. Then she did not hesitate to use whatever was in her power to stop them. After that, she began to see this as a real responsibility. She used that charisma to negotiate treaties, alliances, and deals with the neighboring kingdoms. Heck, she made peace with the kobold tribes nearby. She was actually well loved by the citizens of the kingdom. Despite protesting the initial election results, Keiko settled in as a great ruler. It was fun seeing her using the bard skills on such a large scale. Sure, there were some fumbles, but they weren't critical fails. Just a few bad judgments of trusting the wrong people, but that's what she employed our barbarian for. Oh yeah, gotta have that muscle. Bad man, me smash! I was playing my dad bard. I prefer father figure bard. I'm kidding. Anyway, he always made dad jokes and acted as a calming influence. We were fighting a mini boss and it was my turn. The DM said that he only had 1 HP left. How do you want to do this? Well, I cast vicious mockery and say, I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Hey, disappointed, I'm Brian. Hey, one dad joke for another. I played a campaign where I decided to become a Spanish warlock bard called Los Caronas, who used a modified guitar to shoot Eldritch Blast by playing it. Oh, I love it. His favorite song to play was often the Macarena, which galvanized his teammates while firing off at enemies. Ended up being the last one standing in the fight and had a dance-off with the big bad evil guy. Alright, Star-Lord, cool your jets. Bard Sorcerer Dwarf with an expertise in athletics. We don't hear about that very often. Rarest combo ever? He never liked to get his hands dirty though. Was just really body positive. So that's what his spells ended up being for. Spoiled noble from a corrupt mafia family that got his name via farming. His entire spell list were combos, AoE, weather, and terrain spells. It was fun playing the short, fat character that essentially fought like if Iroh was an avatar. I love it, and again, we don't see many dwarvish people in bard sorcerer positions with an expertise in athletics. I mean, come on, this is just screaming for more information. I need it. Currently playing a bard artificer named Ozzy. Ozzy is a nerdy-looking musician who has a habit of making inappropriate magical devices. Not to mention the fact that he plays a guitar in a fantasy environment. Love the guy. Dandelioning the shit out of my game. My very first character was a half-elf lore bard loosely based on Dandelion from the Witcher books. My intention was for him to be a useless idiot who got everyone into trouble, while still being likable. I also gave him a thick Belfast accent, which to me sounds ridiculous and sympathetic at the same time. Well, it worked. I made everyone at the table laugh and even got the comment, "Dude, you're wild," from an experienced player during a break. Walsh, half-elf College of Swords bard. He made a name for himself as an elite bullfighter with some monsters thrown in every now and then. He was recruited by the rest of the party to help them in their monster hunting. Wherever he goes, he has multiple flying familiars tailing him, sending their vision to magic divination orbs so families can see his mighty deeds from within the safety of their homes. This was exploited later by the villain, who sent his own familiar to observe the group from within the flock. That's actually kind of ingenious and, oddly enough, a really good way to try and, I don't know, make some sort of mass media TV show. I love it so much. These are good ideas. Hey everyone, Brian Von Vier here checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and to ring that bell so you can get notified whenever we post a brand new video. Or on the rare chance we go live, though you can check us out primarily on Twitch. Links will be in the description below. Now, if you'd like to submit a story to us, you can do so 2 places. You can do so directly in the comments of this video or any video that you're watching, or you can do so on our subreddit r/MrRipper. We check both, so go ahead and spam us to death. We want your stories. That said, if you want to come say hi to me, your friendly narrator for pretty much every video you've been listening to for a while on this channel, brianvonva.com is the best way to see me. You can go down to the very bottom and check out my social links. I stream a lot on Twitch, and I'm just kind of littered everywhere. Same thing, Brian Von VA everywhere. So come say hi. Hello. How are you? And that said, I try to end things on a positive note. And honestly, I just want to say something about bards, if I can. The whole time I've been recording this, I've just been so enamored with these stories. You guys and gals out there are blowing my brain with how cool and how innovative these bard characters are. I mean, we even had one that was a frickin' bard sorcerer dwarf. Okay? That blew my mind. I cannot believe that someone would play that character. I mean, people usually kind of shit on dwarves as it is in most fantasy eras. So it's like, to see that was cool. And like to have all these, like, there wasn't a single thing. There wasn't a single flirtatious bard out of all of them. That made my day. Y'all are creative, and I'm so proud of each and every one of you for it. So never stop. I want enough stories from this alone to get multiple parts. Please, if you have a story about all this, let me know. Tell me about your bard. I want to know. Put it in the comments. Just make sure that you don't hold back. Because honestly, and I'm being deadly serious here, I really respect all of you for all of your work, and I want to see it all in full. So don't, ham it up or anything. Just tell us the story, and I want to read it, and I can't wait to read it out loud because this was one of my favorite episodes. It really was, because you guys and gals, you killed it. 10 out of 10. I love you all. Now from me to you, please be safe, be happy, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now, everybody.